Okay. There we go. A few more people coming. Thank you, Carlos. Where's Alethea, your assistant?
She's working tonight.
Yikes, on a Sunday? We have more people than I noticed. Lara, welcome back. Damien, hello. Emilio, Clara, and Antonio.
Hi.
Funny, I had it set on speaker views, so I didn't notice there were other people. So maybe while we're waiting for Saladana to fill in, I guess I'll ask Tony, where are you right now? Are you in Spain?
Yes, I am in Spain, in Barcelona.
Ah, Barcelona. Nice. Okay, that's exciting. I like that. I tell people this kind of as a joke, but if I was 20 years younger, or maybe even 10, I would open up a Saladana in Barcelona next. That would be the next place to go. But I'm not, so I won't. Let's see, I know everyone, but Clara, I'm not so sure. She's just a black box.
Hi, Jim.
Who said that?
There is. Hola, Jim. Hay ruido de fondo.
Posiblemente sí,
No,
es porque mi ordenador es un poco, no sé, caliente en el aspirador, pero yo no puedo quitarlo hasta que la ordenador es más fría, calma. Y bueno,
Ok, no problem.
investigar, quizás hay otros programas. No sé qué funciona. Pero normalmente dura solo segundos, normalmente, o 1 minuto, 2 minutos.
Okay,
Then
thank
we have
you.
plenty of new people in Saladana.
Oh,
Please keep in
good.
mind.
Here, let me pin you guys. Hello. So why don't we start with some introductions with our names? Maybe we'll start in Saladana. You guys aren't exactly in a circle, but we can start from my left, your right. Starting from the right. Tell us your name.
So, Sophia from Mexico. Did you hear
Oh,
it?
how exciting. Sofia from Mexico. Bienvenida.
Did you hear her, or do I need to?
Your help
repeat.
is helpful, yeah.
So hi Jim, my name is Ezekiel. I'm originally from Argentina and I just moved to Madrid. We just moved to Madrid with my wife a few months ago. I'm excited to learn about this place. Look forward to coming here.
Did you hear
Okay, thank you. Bienvenido. I didn't hear the name, but I heard he's from Argentina and lives in Spain. And Sofia is his wife.
We have another Zeke, Ezequiel.
All right. Okay. We already have a Zeke, from Argentina who comes regularly. Okay, in the back, next to the tree.
Jacqueline from Peru.
Wow, this is so international. We've got people from all over, but I didn't get her name. Say her name again.
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline, okay.
Hi, I'm Anto from Argentina too.
Okay.
Here in Madrid.
Nice.
You
But
probably
I didn't hear
remember
her name.
Anto. Antonella, right?
Antonella,
You
okay.
might remember her.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jesus here, born in
Jesus, ¿dónde estabas? Oh my God.
Lost, yeah.
He was lost. Well, now you're found again. Just like the practice. We get lost and then we come back. We find ourselves. So good to see you, Jesus. I would been meaning to ask, reach out because I was wondering, where are you? But here you are. Very good.
No, I'm Pepe from Madrid.
Pepe from Madrid.
Okay, Pepe. Welcome.
And
All right,
Carlos.
and then online.
This
How
is
could we-
Gore from India.
Welcome, Gore.
I'm Damien from Ireland, but living in Madrid.
Welcome, Damien.
I'm Lara from the Argentinian community as well, but in Italy now.
Wow. Welcome, Lara. That's amazing. Yeah, lots of people from Argentina.
And Emilio in Madrid.
Thank you. Welcome, Emilio.
Ricardo in Madrid too.
Ricardo. Oh,
Tony in Barcelona.
welcome, Tony. Y Javier.
Javier from the earth.
From where?
From the earth.
And
From Madrid.
okay, thank you. And Clara. Clara, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm in Madrid too.
Okay. Thank you, Clara. Okay, so I think Argentina might have won the most common country. No, next to Spain, probably Spain. And I'm Jim, for those of you who don't know. And I'm from California, United States, which is where I am right now. I'm in San Francisco. And I've been here now for, I guess, 3 weeks, helping take care of my mother, who no longer can take care of herself. But I'm on a break now. My brother took over. He's actually, we take care of her to some extent, but because she's in a place, the nurses take care of her mostly, but we take care of her little dog. That's kind of our job. She has a dog about this big.
What's his name?
The dog's name is Molly. Molly. And she also is very old. She's almost 17 years old. She has many things wrong with her, but yet she keeps on keeping on. She still can play and seems happy, and so. Anyway, so I'm back in San Francisco for a week to take care of some things here and get a breather, and then I'll go back down again after a week and try to get my mom more permanently situated. Hope I can come back to Spain in May. Anyways, we will do a meditation. For those of you who are new, which there are a few of you, we normally meditate for about 31 or 2 minutes. I set the timer for 30, and then I usually go about a minute or two over when we do kind of an ending ritual. I'm going to suggest again this week that we do what we did last week, which was to be aware of struggle, be aware of tension, be aware of any contraction, because these are all signs that we are holding on to something. We're holding on to wanting a different experience. We're holding on to the idea, for instance, that we should not be thinking. This is a very common expectation that people have, or belief that people have about meditation, is we sit down and then we don't think. Well, this may come many, many decades after practicing every single day. You might get a period where you have no thinking at all. It's much, much more normal that the mind will think. And I think it's important to keep in mind that we are not in control of this. It's in our unconscious, our subconscious, below our level of consciousness, that it is decided whether we think or we don't think. So to get hard on ourselves or to have expectations that we're not going to think. Oof, I got a little feedback. I wonder why that. Oh, stopped. Okay. This is unrealistic. This is not helpful. What we're doing really is we're training our unconscious mind. We are creating habits, and of course, habits are at the level of the unconscious, right? We do things habitually without even thinking about them. Well, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to create new habits. And the habit is to be present, to be in the present moment, to be aware. Aware through our senses, aware of what passes through our mind. And this is a habit we can develop. And this is why we practice, to develop this habit of being present in the present moment, consciente, not perdido en los pensamientos, lost. But that is the default mode of the mind, is to just think. So please don't expect your mind not to think. It's going to think. It's going to think. And so we look for signs like tension, fighting, struggle. Okay, enough introduction. Do we have, is that Evie? Who is that on the phone that just, came and went? Anyways, we will begin. I will set the timer. Any questions or doubts or? Okay. Since I'm back in San Francisco, I have my own bell. I don't need the phone's bell. Okay. Let's start by finding a comfortable posture. So important that your posture is comfortable, that it has a sense of dignity, that it's upright. It's very helpful if we can maintain a still, quiet, quieto posture, because then we can use the posture to help calm the mind. If the body is moving around, the mind is going to move around. So we try to be still. You can put your hands on your knees or in your lap. Head maybe tilted ever so slightly downward to open up the vertebrae. And I invite you now to just be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of sounds. Be aware of any sensation of other presence, other people, for instance, or animals or things in your vicinity. And then be aware of your posture, your body. Allowing the sounds, the external things to still be present in your awareness, but don't focus on them. Focus now on your posture, on your body. There may be lots of sensation in the body, points of contact with the chair, the cushion, the floor. There may be sensations of energy flowing through the body. So we just feel these things, we notice them, we observe them. We try not to make up stories about them. So now I invite you to find, if you haven't noticed already, the breath, the sensations of breathing. So now we narrow our focus, our attention a little bit to observe the breath, and we allow the body and the sounds to move to the background. Don't push them away, just allow them to recede to the segundo plano, the background. So we just notice the sensations of breathing, the movement of the body, expansion and contraction of the belly and the chest. Maybe a little tickling at the nostrils. Now you can make the breath your anchor, the object of your attention. So you have something to come back to when you notice you've been lost in thought, that the mind has wandered away. So we just keep coming back again and again to the breath. And if you're feeling concentrated, or on the other hand, maybe sleepy, you might try to pay attention to the breath at one spot, preferably the nose, the nostrils. If you're feeling agitated, anxious, excited, then you might pay attention to the breath at the belly, observing the movement of the belly. Or you can follow the entire journey of the breath. So I'll be quiet for a while. I'm also going to mute the computer so there's less noise, and we'll just practice coming back to the breath, following the breath, feeling the breath. Then we get lost in thought, we notice it, we come back again and again. If you find it helpful, you can label your experience, especially the breath, with simple one word, two word names like breathing in, breathing out. And when thoughts come up and you notice, you can say, thinking, and returning, breathing in, breathing out. Or you can use a Thailandese, a Thai name of Buddha, which is Budo. Bu with the inhale, Do with the exhale. Bu, Do. These can help track and stay with the breath. So if the mind is seeming a little more centered, a little more stable, the concentration, the attention a little more stable, and you want to experiment a little bit with vipassana or insight meditation, you can turn your attention to the comings and goings of phenomena. That is noticing how things just arise into the mind, into the consciousness, stay a while, and pass. Thoughts, sensations, sounds, the breath. Just noticing the constant movement of phenomena as it passes through awareness. Noticing its impermanent, transitory nature. Anicca, we would say in Pali, impermanent. You can continue to use the breath as an anchor if you want, or you can just let the comings and goings be your anchor, the noticing of the ever changing, moving flow of phenomena. So let's return our attention to the body. So no matter what passed until this moment, it is now all in the past. Can start again at any moment. So let's recreate that embodied presence that we often hear about, where we fill our body with attention, feeling any sensations in the body, which now there's probably more than there was 30 minutes ago. Maybe body parts sleeping, little pain, maybe discomfort. It's okay. Giving your body like a attention hug. Holding it with attention. And then if you're willing, bringing that attention to your heart space, the chest area. Feeling the heart area, maybe putting your hands against your chest to create some sensation. And then let's close this meditation with a little gratitude practice, thanking ourselves for our practice, the goodness of our practice. And thanking those around us in Saladana, on Zoom, on YouTube. Thanking our Sangha for the goodness of their practice and supporting our practice, my practice. And then imagining you can take this gratitude, such a powerful, potent emotion, attitude, and sending it out in all directions, touching all of life, wishing that all beings be happy. And when you hear the sound of the bell, as always, noticing just whatever might arise, any thought, any feeling. Well, thank you all very much. Hope it was okay, especially for you newbies. We went a little more, we went 32 and a half minutes. It was funny, during the meditation, I tried to play around with my computer here, my ordenador portable, to calm it down because the fan kept on going, right? And it very much reminded me of practice. And I'll explain. So first, I started off with putting myself I took the video off, right? Thinking that maybe the camera was causing the heat. And that wasn't enough. The fan was still going. So then I shrink, right, the video of you guys, the Zoom, to just a small piece. And the fan just kept going. So then I tried both. I turned off my video, the camera, and I shrunk you guys. And then it calmed down, right? The fan slowly diminished and then it stopped. And it was such a great metaphor, you might say, for practice, right? Sometimes we need to play around, right? We need to make some adjustments. We need to try a few things and see what works for us. You know, this is not at all meant to be rigid. It's not like there's only one way. No, this is false. There are many ways. And part of our practice is finding out what way works for me, for us, right? So like even with the breath, you know, some people like the full body breathing. That would be more me. I do that more often than, say, paying attention in one place. But there are others that very much like to follow the breath in the belly. Like the Mahasi, this is a Burmese school where they very much teach, follow it in the belly, and which does have a lot of benefits. You know, it's very calming, the belly. So especially if you're agitated, if you're excited, if you're hyper, you want to maybe try the belly because it will calm down the body, which will calm down the mind and calms down the nervous system. But here you're sort of playing with it, right? Like if you're agitated or the mind is just try the belly. Give it a try. Try to follow the breath at the belly. Or, as I mentioned, you know, you could be sleepy, drowsy, sloth and torpor, we call it in the traditional Buddhist language. So then you go narrow, maybe right at the tip of the nose or in the nostrils or at the upper lip. Try to focus there because that will generate energy, which is what you're lacking if you're sleepy, right? So you want to generate energy. But if you're already kind of excited or you have a lot of energy, this can actually be a little bit too much. And it can also wear you out. On the other hand, it can also make you tired. Kind of depends on the state of your mind. So we're sort of playing with it. Don't feel like you have to do it just one way. But then once you start to find some rhythm, like that's working, you know, then you stay with it. It's like for me, I kept the video and the Zoom picture off for a while. One time I turned it on again a little too early. The fan came back on. So I kept it on longer and the fan, as it is now, went off. Same with our practice, same with our attention, our concentration, our stability, our samadhi. After a while, it will start to go kind of on its own. And of course, the mind will think and you'll come back, but you'll come back more easily, maybe for a little longer period. And I will add, unlike the fan, it's meant to be enjoyable. Right? Meditation is not meant to be painful or unpleasant or a task. No, it's something that hopefully you enjoy doing. And the best way to probably enjoy it is to do it your way, the way you enjoy it. You know, you find out which way is enjoyable. And then you do it that way. Now, I had a little, realization this week that I think I'd like to share it because I think it's hopeful and helpful. And I've been reading off and on this book called Mind Illuminated by a PhD named John Yates, and I think a couple other maybe co-authors, or at least one other, but Mind Illuminated. And he has a PhD in neuroscience, and I believe he heads up a foundation or something that's really interested in studying the mind, right? And how it works and so forth. And he points out, reminds us that, as I mentioned earlier in the meditation, we don't have control over when the mind is going to get lost in thought. Just try to control it. You can't, you can't. When the mind decides, when the unconscious decides that it's going to start to wander, it's going to start thinking about something else, it does. It just does. Además, in addition, when the mind decides that it wants to come back to the breath, or when the mind, better yet, when the mind decides, okay, it's done with that wandering, then we sort of wake up. We wake up to it. But we don't have control over that. We being, the conscious presence. It's like the unconscious decides, okay, long enough. We've been lost in thought long enough. And then we go, oh, and then we're awake again. So I think this is important because, for many reasons, but the one that I really like is to not think that we're in control, to not take this personally, to not believe that, oh, I'm not enough, or I didn't do enough, or there's something wrong with me, or I don't know how to meditate. None of that is true, because you don't have any control over those things. Now, what we can do is we can create a habit, a good habit, a wholesome habit, a skillful habit. And we create the habit of wanting to be awake, wanting to be conscious, wanting to be mindful. Now, where I really saw this in my own life this last week is, as many of you know, the people that know me, I like to ride a bicycle. And I'll go on long bike trips, 2 hours, 3 hours, sometimes 5 hours on my bicycle. Now, when I first started riding my bike, 25, 30 years ago, whatever it was, up till I started meditating, I'd be on the bike, but my mind is thinking about other things. Just, planning, strategizing, lamenting, whatever. Just. And I might go on a two-hour bike ride and I might not remember anything, really, because I wasn't really present. But with meditation practice and over the years where I've wanted to be present, now on my bike rides, I notice constantly my mind wants to come back to the present moment. It wakes up from a thought, from a little viaje, a little trip, and it wants to be present. Now, the presence may only last seconds. I was yesterday, there's some beautiful coastal mountains north of San Francisco that are just fabulous. And of course, it's springtime. They didn't get a lot of water, but it's green. It's just one of the prettiest places in the world to ride a bicycle, road bike and mountain bike, but mostly road bike. And so, my mind would decide, okay, enough planning. Come back to the present moment. Now I'm awake, looking at this beauty. Maybe that lasts 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Then the mind says, okay, that's enough. And then you go back into thought. But it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth throughout the bike ride. And what I noticed, what I appreciated, and what I was so grateful for is that it is becoming more habituated, more habitual, that my mind wants to come back. It's like I'm not in control here. The mind has decided, you know what? We really like this being in the present moment. It feels good. We want to do it more. And one thing this guy said in the book, and I'll try to remember to also remind us during the meditation, but I'll tell you now. So when we kind of wake up, when we wake up from being lost in thought, in that moment, don't just rush back to the object. Savor that moment for a moment, okay? Celebrate for a moment. Be grateful for a moment. Like, thank your mind. Thank you for bringing me back. Because this will help motivate the mind to do it again. It'll like that. It'll be appreciated, feel appreciated, I guess you could say, as if it is a person, but it will get that reward. And so then it'll want to do it again. If we just, well, worst case is we wake up and we go, oh shit, I was thinking again. What kind of bad meditator am I? I can assure you that will not work. The mind doesn't want that. So it might not even wake up. It'll decide, I'm just going to think the whole 30 minutes. That's the way you're going to be, right? So that's the worst case. The worst case, holy smokes, I'm going to need to intervene here because my battery, I'm not plugged into power, but I'll finish this thought before I do that. So worst case is we castigate ourselves, we criticize ourselves, we judge ourselves when we wake up. That's the worst case. We want to try to stop doing that, which is also a habit, right? This is a habit. If you do it when you wake up from being lost in thought, almost for sure you do it in your real life for other things. Guaranteed, right? So we want to try to change that habit to one where we celebrate, we thank ourselves, we appreciate that moment. And then, of course, there's just the in-between where maybe we don't do anything, we just notice it, and then we glide on over back to the anchor. That's what I tend to do. And this book has reminded me that, no, maybe you should just wait a moment. Don't go rushing back to the breath. Stay with that moment of awakening for a second. This will reinforce the new habit we're trying to create better than just rushing back to the anchor. And this, it's so interesting, but really this practice is just really about building, you could say, mental muscles, new habits, new neural pathways. And I guarantee you, I have a new saying. I love pithy little sayings. When you are aware that you are aware, you are there. Nada más, right? When we're aware, when we're awake to the fact that we're awake, nothing more is needed. That's it. We're there. There's nothing beyond, más allá. That's it. And it takes practice because over the years, we in our societies with distractions and cell phones and marketing and, and just the way we teach our kids and so forth, we're not taught to be in the present moment, like in the tactile present moment. Seeing, we know we're seeing. Hearing, we know we're hearing. Feeling, we know we're feeling. Oh, tasting. How often do we really taste the food we eat? I mean, really. The next minute our bowl is empty, our plate is empty, and we don't even know what the hell we ate. Rather than savoring it and tasting each thing, we don't do that. But this practice is about teaching us to be present with our sensations. And here's where I can really guarantee your money back. Right? That's the expression, your money back. Of course, I know you're not paying any money, so it's kind of a false promise. But the less you think, the less time you spent lost in thought, and the more time you spent connected to your senses, the happier you are going to be. Guaranteed. It can almost be as simple as that. Think less, feel more. And when I say feel, I don't mean like just emotions, feel sadness, feel happiness. No, I mean feel reality. Feel whatever is around you. Feel whatever is inside you. The happier you will be. Guaranteed. It's right in the path. I mean, we've gone over the 7 factors of awakening and other different paths, other different lists in Buddhism. And after you get that initial bit of mindfulness, which is basically what I'm talking about. In Buddhism, we call it sati, we call it mindfulness. It's basically just presence without any greed, hatred, or delusion. The next following things, maybe not immediately, but within 1 or 2, are joy. Joy. Piti, right? Or sukha, happiness. These things just naturally follow. We get out of our heads. But again, we don't have control. So we have to teach the mind, train the mind, give the mind carrots, right? You probably heard that experience. You have carrots and sticks, right? Carrot is something nice. Of course, this is for a rabbit, probably. But you give it something nice, a present, chances are it's going to change. You beat it, and it's going to be like, I'll show you, buddy. It'll just fight back. Okay, that was a lot of words. I didn't really get to the 4 Noble Truths, but I wanted to share that. Why don't we do this? Because I'm going to plug in my computer. Why don't we do a short walking meditation? And then we'll wrap up with a little bit of the end, finalizing the 2nd Noble Truth. For those of you who might be new to walking meditation, in this case, and this is so useful in our real life, right? The object is not the breath, but our feet touching the ground, touching the floor. So you just put your attention into your feet, touching the floor. And when the mind wanders, which it will, maybe more even for some people when they walk, no pasa nada. We notice it. Maybe we spend a moment. Thank you. Thank you for helping me wake up. And then we go back to the feet, feeling the feet. And so we'll do that for 5 minutes, give a chance to stretch our legs, but also try a different practice. Sound good? Okay. And I'm going to go plug in my computer before it falls asleep. I'll ring the bell when we get to 5 minutes. Thank you all for coming back. Rather than figure out how to connect my computer in the living room, I just moved the computer to the cable. So I'm in a different room. Hopefully the internet will continue to work here. So I thought I will try to quickly just kind of finish up the second noble truth so we can move on to the third noble truth. So I'm going to quickly try to just summarize a couple things from Joseph Goldstein's book, which we've been using. Hopefully you guys ought to be able to see that. I'm not going to read that one. So I think this is what we sort of talked about last week and this week about the struggle. So the way he titles it, craving can lead to agitation, craving being the cause of suffering, tanha, craving, wanting, and that alone can lead to agitation. And this is where we notice it when there's struggle, when there's conflict, when there's tension, when there's contraction. If any of those are present, then for sure craving is also present. Craving in the sense of wanting it to be different, more pleasurable, less pleasurable, just different than it is. So this alone can lead to suffering, really, to dukkha, right? To unsatisfactoriness. I'm not going to read that long thing there. So here he writes, if we were accepting it, we wouldn't be struggling. And we're talking about mental, right? This is all mental because pain, sickness, death, these are all going to happen to all of us at some point. But we don't have to mentally suffer as well. There was I've been doing a Zoom call periodically with this man here in California who specializes with people who are in their final period, right? And there was a very feisty, vivacious Chinese artist in the group who passed 4 weeks ago from cancer. But I mean, she was feisty and fun and on the path right up until the last moment. Right until the last moment. It was very inspiring. Sad that she passed, but she never at any point didn't accept it. She accepted it. That, it was going to happen. And when we accept it, then it's almost like it's the deathless. It isn't really death at all. Okay, the second domain of craving is the desire to be. This is, I mentioned, is a huge topic, but we're going to summarize it real quickly. It can happen in so many different ways. This desire to be, a desire to be somebody, a desire to be something, a desire for things to happen, different states. It's anytime we want something that doesn't exist in this moment. He points out, we very much will see this in the planning mind, right? So if your mind goes into planning mode, starts to plan, and of course we have to plan a little bit, otherwise we would just stay home all day, right? You got to plan a little bit, but if it's repeatedly planning or rehearsing the plan or whatever, then you have fallen into the second domain of craving, the desire to be, or the desire for becoming, we often will call it. Let's see, this, probably pass on that. Here, this one is one I tend to fall into this sense of leaning forward. Although I notice when I look at myself in the camera, it's funny. I don't exactly lean forward. I sort of lean forward and to the left. I guess because I'm a lefty, right? I'm a left-handed, number one, and politically I'm left. But I won't just go forward. I'll kind of go forward and to the left. But this is sort of my nature. I sort of lean forward because I'm wanting becoming, right? I'm wanting to be something, do something. I mean, and like Saladana, let's face it, is the reason it exists in part is because I have this tendency to want to become, to do stuff, to lean forward. So it may not all be bad, but it can cause a lot of suffering. And I'll tell you, the renovation of Saladana caused me a lot of suffering, and I took it out on some people too, which I feel terrible about. It'd be so nice to be at that place where one can produce something beautiful like Saladana and not suffer. I haven't figured that out yet, but so here I'll end with this particular one here. He says, we forget that liberation, freedom, is not about becoming or getting. It wouldn't matter if I had Saladanas in every city in Europe or the world. It isn't going to bring me liberation. It's not about holding on or craving or clinging, but about letting go. That's the key, right? Letting go. And so then Ramana Maharshi, this great Indian saint, said, try to be less, not more. That's the key to happiness, and especially the thinking, as I mentioned. Try to think less, not more. And then finally, the third domain of craving is the desire for non-existence. You can probably guess that the big one is that this life sucks and I want to end it. But it can also have those momentary moments. This sensation sucks. This meditation is not going the way I want it to. I want it to stop. Right here, this experience is so bad. If only I could not be. I mean, it can get to that level. But on this other time, this right here, the problem here is that this craving for non-existence, for not wanting this to be, is no less than the other two types of craving. It is fueled by this sense of self. This little Jimmy wants something, a little self to gratify, to clone into the future, a self to get rid of. And with practice, we start to realize that, as the Buddha put it, it's a magic show of consciousness. It's just a flow of things arising, as we did in the meditation, arising, staying a while, and passing on through consciousness. That's pretty much what it's all about. Now, that's a huge topic, but I'll end with that. Okay, real quickly, we have like a minute. Is there anybody who has any questions or would like to make a comment or just reflect? No? Okay, take your guys' word for it. I won't pick anybody. I won't force you to say anything. Okay, why don't we do a little final meditation, which we call metta in Pali, and it can be translated as goodwill, as loving kindness, benevolencia. I've heard it sometimes translated in Spanish. So I'm gonna, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, I'll offer some phrases. This one we use phrases, wishes, deseos, and then you can repeat them mentally. So why don't we start off with the poor people of Ukraine? Oh my gosh, those photos I've seen in the news, just tragic. So we're going to offer the people of Ukraine, hopefully this will be easy for you, some good wishes, some metta. May they be happy. Seems like a long way to go, right, for them, but we want them to be happy. May they be happy. May they be well. May they be safe. May they live with ease. It's funny, they're so far away from any of those four that it really seems like karuna, the compassion, would be more appropriate for them. Anyways, de todos modos. So now let's go to I, me, you, individual, or the little self. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. May I live with ease. Ease is like facilidad, or it's just easy, right? Life is easy, not a burden. Now the next group, we call it the difficult person or the difficult being. So this could be somebody who maybe hurt your feelings, or you have a little resentment towards them. For a short practice like this, we probably want to start small. Going to Putin might be a little too much. So just imagine somebody, just a little bit of resentment towards them, a little bit of hurt. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you live with ease. And finally, all beings in all directions without exception. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings live with ease. And lastly, in the tradition of renunciation, letting go, generosity, we offer up the fruit of our practice today to the benefit of all beings. May all beings be happy and peaceful, healthy and strong, safe and protected. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, free from war and violence and discrimination, racism, free from coronavirus and any other diseases. And may all beings find their path, find their lists, find the wisdom to be free from suffering. May all beings be free. Well, thank you all so very much for showing up. It's such an honor to do this each Sunday, and with Zoom I can do it no matter where I am, although I'd rather be in Saladana, but this works quite well. Just real quickly, just a little announcement about Dana, for those of you especially who might be new. At Saladana, we are practicing and experimenting in a world of generosity. That is our economic world there, where we offer things freely from our hearts, the teachings and the space and so forth. And students or participants can also practice dana, generosity. And you can make a financial donation either in the box that's in the front there in the entrada, or you can make a transferencia straight to the account of the Dhanasati organization, which owns Saladana, or at least the business of it. There's also BISM as a possibility. Be sure to write on BISM where you'd like to direct it. And many of the teachers, they do kind of depend on Dana for their expenses. So be generous with them. And then the other thing I want to mention is, we have a retreat. I would say it's our first retreat coming out of Saladana and the organization in May 23rd to 27th in Galapagar in Madrid, Comunidad. It's on the website. You just have to click on Retiros, and it's with a wonderful young Spanish-speaking monk, a Mexican-American monk by the name of Bhante Sanata Vihari. He's from Los Angeles, and he's in the same lineage as Bhikkhu Analayo and Bhikkhu Bodhi and some of these, real important monks of our time. Wonderful young kid. He's been in Spain. He was in Madrid more than 2 years ago. That's how I met him. And I really encourage you all to really consider it. And if you have a job, I think this is vale la pena. It's worth reorganizing your schedule. And if you have a little difficulty with the money for the housing, talk to me. Send me an email. We have a little scholarship fund and we can help people out. But I'm really excited about it. And then also the last thing is hopefully this won't be a bother, but I've added a level to this meetup group called Meetup Pro in hopes of being able to communicate to our members in a way that respects their privacy and is legal and so forth. So I'm going to attempt to do that. Don't be surprised if you get a couple, trials. It'll be trial and error, much like our practice, right? What works? And we're going to try to develop a newsletter, hopefully like a monthly newsletter, so that you'll know what's going on. And anyways, that's in the works. So don't be surprised if you don't have something in your inbox that you don't maybe recognize, but it'll be coming from me and the group at Saladana. Anyways, that's all I have. Carlos, do you have anything you want to say? Any announcements or?
Nothing to add to that. No.
Okay, but thank you so much for your service, Carlos. Again, I just don't know where we'd be without you. You're very important part of Saladana. Anyone else have any announcements or anything to say?
Thank you to Carlos and Alicia very much.
Thank you, Javier. Okay, well, I hope to see you all next week. Next week, we'll start on the third noble truth, which is the cessation of suffering. That's So the good news, right? We've gone through the bad news. Now we could do the good news. And I hope you guys all have a good week. Feel free to, if you're on Zoom or whatever, you can unmute and say goodbye. And we'll see you guys next week, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you to all.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, Jim.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Tengan
Bye.
buen semana.
Buena
Buen
semana.
práctica.
Adiós.
Bye, guys. Hang in there, Gore.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Hi, Evie.
Bye, Jean.